I'm sitting in my car outside the Bellevue Botanical Garden right now, and in exactly 20 minutes my son is supposed to walk down the aisle. Without me. My hands are shaking as I grip the steering wheel. I can see guests arriving, women in pastel dresses, men in suits, everyone smiling and excited. They have no idea what's really happening here. No idea that the bride isn't who she pretends to be. I have enough evidence in the folder on my passenger seat to stop this wedding. Credit reports, bank statements, a forged loan application. Everything I need to prove that Isabel Montgomery is not marrying my son for love. She's marrying him for survival. But Matthew doesn't want to hear it. He doesn't want to see me. 3 weeks ago, he sent me a text message that shattered my world. Don't come to the wedding. Belle doesn't feel comfortable with your negativity. I need to support my future wife. How did we get here? How did my relationship with my son, my only child, the boy I raised alone after his father died, how did it come to this? Let me back up. Let me tell you how this nightmare began. It was a Tuesday evening in April when Matthew called me, and I could hear the smile in his voice before he even said hello. Mom, I want you to meet someone. My heart did that little jump it always does when your child sounds happy. Matthew was 28, working as a marketing coordinator at a tech company in downtown Seattle, and he'd been single for almost 2 years. Since Emily, that was my mistake. My big, glaring mistake that I was still paying for. Emily had been Matthew's girlfriend for 8 months, and I'd had concerns. She was loud, always on her phone, and she'd once borrowed $200 from Matthew and taken 3 months to pay it back. I'd mentioned these things maybe more than once, and Matthew had ended things with her. He'd told me it was his decision, but I knew. I knew my concerns had influenced him. 3 months later, Emily got engaged to a pediatrician. They looked happy in the photos Matthew accidentally saw on Instagram. And I saw the look on his face, the realization that maybe she hadn't been the problem. Maybe I had been. So when Matthew said he wanted me to meet someone new, I made myself a promise I would be supportive. I would be welcoming. I would not repeat my mistakes. I'd love to meet her, I said, keeping my voice warm. Bring her to dinner this Sunday. Actually, I was thinking we could do a video call tonight. She's at her place and I'm at mine, but we could all connect. She's really excited to meet you, Mom. Video call. Not even face-to-face for the first meeting. But I swallowed my disappointment. Sure, honey. Give me 20 minutes to make myself presentable. I went to my bedroom and changed out of my work clothes. I'm a vice president at First National Bank, which means a lot of pantsuits in neutral colors. I put on a soft blue sweater Matthew had given me for Christmas, touched up my makeup, and told myself to smile naturally. When the call connected, Matthew appeared on screen, and then he turned his laptop to show a young woman sitting beside him on his couch. Mom, this is Belle. She was beautiful. Objectively, strikingly beautiful. Honey blonde hair that fell in perfect waves, green eyes, a smile that looked like it belonged in a toothpaste commercial. She wore a cream-colored sweater that probably cost more than my entire outfit. Mrs. Carter, she said, and her enthusiasm seemed genuine. Oh my gosh, Matthew has told me so much about you. It's such an honor to finally meet you. An honor that seemed like an odd word choice, but I brushed it aside. Please call me Amanda, I said. It's wonderful to meet you too, Belle. Matthew sounds very happy. He's been amazing, Belle said. And she looked at him with what appeared to be genuine affection. We met at a networking event downtown. I'm an event planner, and Matthew's company was one of the sponsors. We just clicked, you know. It was like we'd known each other forever. We talked for 45 minutes. Belle told me about growing up in Portland, about her family. Her father had been in real estate. Her mother was a homemaker. She had a younger sister studying nursing. She asked about my work at the bank, about how I'd managed as a single mother after David died. Matthew told me about his father, she said softly. I can't imagine how hard that must have been. You raised an incredible man, Amanda. You should be so proud. I felt my throat tighten. She said all the right things. Every single thing I would have wanted to hear. After we hung up, I sat in my living room feeling unsettled in a way I couldn't name. She was perfect. Too perfect. Or was I just being paranoid because of what happened with Emily? I called my best friend Sarah Walsh. Sarah's a psychologist, and she's known Matthew since he was in middle school. If anyone could tell me I was being ridiculous, it was Sarah. So what did you think? I asked after explaining the video call. She sounds nice, Sarah said carefully. But Amanda, you're asking the wrong question. What do you mean? You're asking me if she's good enough for Matthew. The question should be, what does your gut tell you? I stared at my reflection in the darkened window. My gut told me Emily was wrong for him, too. And maybe she was, or maybe she wasn't. But that doesn't mean you should ignore your instincts now. Just observe. Watch how she treats him. Watch how he changes around her. You'll know. The first Sunday Matthew missed our brunch, I told myself it was fine. For 10 years, ever since he'd graduated college and moved to his own apartment, we'd had Sunday brunch together, either at my house or at his favorite cafe Rosewood, where they made these ridiculous cinnamon rolls the size of dinner plates. It was our thing, our sacred, unbreakable thing, until it broke. "Hey, Mom, I'm so sorry, but I can't make it today," Matthew had said when he called at 9:30 that morning, 30 minutes before we were supposed to meet. "Belle has this work thing and she really needs my support." "Oh," I said, trying to keep the disappointment out of my voice. "Of course. Is everything okay with work?" Yeah, she's just meeting with a potential client. Big wedding, lots of stress." I told her I'd be there for moral support. After we hung up, I sat at my kitchen table with 2 place settings and a coffee pot that suddenly felt too full. I ate my omelet alone and told myself this was healthy. This was what it looked like when your son built a life with someone else. The second Sunday he missed, he texted instead of calling. "Can't make it, Belle. May and I are apartment hunting, talk later." The third Sunday, Belle answered his phone. "Oh, hi, Amanda." Her voice was bright, cheerful. "Matthew's in the shower, but he asked me to let you know we're running behind today. We had such a late night, went to this amazing restaurant in Capitol Hill. Have you been to Altura? The tasting menu was incredible." Altura, where dinner for 2 costs what I spend on groceries in a month. "No, I haven't," I said. "So Matthew can't make brunch." "Oh, is that today? I think he forgot we've been so busy with wedding planning." "You know how it is," she laughed lightly. "But hey, why don't we all do dinner sometime this week? I'd love to spend more time with you." That dinner never happened. Over the next few weeks, I noticed other small changes. Matthew's texts became shorter, less frequent. When I called Belle, often answered, always friendly, always with an excuse for why Matthew couldn't talk right then. "He's in a meeting." "He's at the gym." "He's driving." And then one evening I used the spare key I still had to Matthew's apartment. I know it was crossing a line, but I'd been trying to reach him for 2 days and I was worried. He'd missed a dentist appointment I'd scheduled for him. Yes, I still scheduled his dentist appointments, don't judge me, and he wasn't responding to texts. I knocked first. No answer. I used my key. The apartment looked different. New furniture, a cream-colored couch that looked expensive, a glass coffee table that definitely wasn't from IKEA like his old one, throw pillows that matched. In the bedroom, I could see designer shopping bags piled in the corner. Nordstrom, Saks, brands that didn't match a marketing coordinator's salary. And on the counter, I saw them wine bottles. Not cheap wine. Bottles that cost $200–300 each. I knew because I'd priced them once for a client appreciation event at the bank. The door opened behind me. "Mom!" I spun around, my face hot with embarrassment. Matthew stood in the doorway and Belle was right behind him. She looked surprised, but not upset. Almost amused. "Matthew, I'm so sorry," I started. "I was worried you weren't answering your phone, and I just wanted to make sure that I was alive." His voice had an edge I'd never heard before. "Mom, I'm 28 years old. You can't just show up at my apartment whenever you feel like it." "I know, Amanda, we totally understand," Belle interjected smoothly, stepping forward. She was wearing yoga pants and a sports bra that probably cost more than my mortgage payment. "You're worried about your baby boy. That's so sweet. But Matthew and I have been talking and we think it's important to establish some boundaries. You know, healthy boundaries for our relationship as a couple." The way she said "our relationship" made it clear she didn't mean her relationship with Matthew. She meant their relationship with me. "Of course," I said, feeling like I was shrinking. "I apologize. I shouldn't have used the key without calling first." "Actually," Matthew said, and he wouldn't meet my eyes, "I think I should take the key back, just for now, while Belle and I figure out our space." The key, my emergency key, the one I'd had since he first moved out, the one that made me feel like I could still protect him if something went wrong. I pulled it off my key ring and set it on the counter next to the expensive wine. "I understand," I said quietly. As I drove home, I tried not to cry. This was normal, I told myself. This was healthy separation. I was not losing my son. He was just growing up. But something Sarah had said kept echoing in my head. Watch how he changes around her. That wasn't my son who'd just taken back my key. Those weren't his words, establish boundaries, our space. Those were Belle's words coming out of his mouth. When I got home, I did something I'm not proud of. I opened Instagram on my phone and searched for Belle Montgomery. Her account was public. 40,000 followers. Her bio read event planner, lifestyle enthusiast, building my empire, one dream at a time. I scrolled through her feed. Photos of Belle at expensive restaurants. Belle with designer handbags. Belle on what looked like a yacht in the San Juan Islands. Belle at the Fairmont Olympic Hotel's spa. Every photo was professionally styled, perfectly filtered, accompanied by hashtags like #luxury had blessed had living my best life. The photos with Matthew started appearing about 3 months ago. The captions were revealing, finally found my king, #couple goals, #blessed. Building our forever together, #engaged. Wait, engaged. That post was from 2 weeks ago, and Matthew hadn't told me. When you find someone who supports your dreams, power couple. I clicked on her tagged photos. There weren't many, but what I found made my stomach turn. Photos from 8-9 months ago where Belle was tagged with another man. The photos had been deleted from her feed, but they still existed in the tags. The man was older, distinguished looking. In one photo, they were at what looked like a charity gala. The caption from the photographer read, Thomas Hartwell, and guest enjoying the Seattle Symphony fundraiser. Thomas Hartwell. I knew that name. He was a tech executive who'd gone through a messy, very public divorce about 6 months ago. It had been in the Seattle Times his wife had gotten half of everything, and his company had taken a hit during a bad product launch. The timeline was interesting. The last photo of Belle with Thomas was from 7 months ago. Her first photo with Matthew was from 6.5 months ago. I closed Instagram and sat in my living room as the evening light faded. Maybe I was connecting dots that didn't exist. Maybe I was being paranoid. Maybe I was so scarred from the Emily situation that I was seeing villains where there were none. But Sarah's words wouldn't leave me. What does your gut tell you? My gut told me that something was very, very wrong. And 3 days later, my phone buzzed with a text from Matthew that confirmed it. Mom, I have amazing news. Belle and I are engaged. Wedding in 10 weeks. We wanted something intimate and soon. Details to follow. Love you. 10 weeks. My son was getting married in 10 weeks to a woman I'd met once over video call, and I just found out via text message. I stared at my phone, and for the first time since David died 16 years ago, I felt truly, completely alone. And I had no idea that the nightmare was only just beginning. 10 weeks to plan a wedding. Most couples take a year, sometimes 2, but Belle and Matthew were doing it in 10 weeks. I tried to be supportive. I really did. The morning after the engagement text, I called Matthew. Belle answered. Amanda, oh my gosh, did you see the news? Her voice was bubbling with excitement. We're so excited, it's going to be beautiful. That's wonderful, I said, forcing warmth into my voice. Can I talk to Matthew? He's actually on a work call right now, but I can have him call you back. We've been so busy with planning. There's just so much to do. Of course, I was thinking I'd love to help. I've been saving for Matthew's wedding for years, and I'd be honored to contribute. Oh, Amanda, that's so sweet. Belle's voice shifted, became softer, more condescending. But Matthew and I really want to do this ourselves. It's important to us to be independent. You know, to start our marriage as adults, standing on our own 2 feet. That word again. Adults. As if I'd been treating them like children. I understand, I said. Well, I'm here if you need anything. We appreciate that. Really. Oh, Matthew's off his call. Let me tell him you called. She hung up before I could say I'd wait. Matthew called back 3 hours later. Hey, Mom, sorry I missed you. It's been crazy. Matthew, 10 weeks. Why the rush? There was a pause. We don't want to wait. We love each other. Why drag it out? I'm not saying drag it out, honey, but 10 weeks doesn't give you much time to plan to save up. We have it covered. His voice got that defensive edge again. Belle's really good at this stuff. She plans events for a living, remember? Of course, I just want to help. Can I at least see the venue, help with the guest list? Another pause. Belle has pretty specific ideas, and we're keeping it small, really small, just our closest people. Our closest people. I'd raised him alone. It had been us against the world for 16 years. If I wasn't one of his closest people, who was? But I swallowed those words. That sounds lovely. Over the next 6 weeks, I was systematically frozen out. The venue was chosen Bellevue Botanical Garden, beautiful and expensive. I learned about it from a photo Belle posted on Instagram, not from my son. The guest list was finalized. I wasn't asked for input. When I gently inquired about inviting David's sister Matthew's aunt, who lived in Spokane, Matthew said, "We already sent the invitations, Mom. We kept it to 50 people. Super intimate." Dress shopping happened with Belle's mother. I saw the photos on Instagram. Belle in a stunning lace gown, her mother dabbing tears from her eyes, champagne glasses raised in celebration. The caption, "Found my dream dress with my dream mom bride tobe." I stared at that photo for longer than I want to admit. My dream mom, as if I'd been relegated to nightmare status. I called Sarah. "Tell me I'm not crazy." "You're not crazy," she said immediately. "But Amanda, you need to talk to Matthew. Really talk to him. Not about the wedding planning, about how he's feeling. About whether this is really what he wants. He won't talk to me without Belle there. Then you need to make that happen. Show up at his office. Take him to lunch. Do something." So I did. I drove to his office building downtown on a Tuesday, texted him that I was in the lobby, and asked if he had time for lunch. Just him and me. To my surprise, he said yes. We went to a small Vietnamese restaurant 2 blocks away. Matthew looked tired. There were circles under his eyes I hadn't noticed on video calls. "How are you, honey?" I asked after we ordered. "Really? I'm good, Mom. Just busy. Are you happy?" He looked at me then, and I saw something flicker across his face. Something uncertain. But then it was gone, replaced by that careful neutrality I'd been seeing for weeks. "I'm marrying the woman I love. Of course I'm happy." "Do you love her? Or do you love how she makes you feel?" The question came out before I could stop it. Matthew's face hardened. "What's that supposed to mean?" "Nothing, I reached for his hand across the table, but he pulled it back. "Matthew, I'm worried. This is all happening so fast and I barely know her, and you seem different." "Different how?" "Stressed, distant, like you're not yourself." "Maybe this is myself," he said, his voice rising slightly. "Maybe the version you're used to, the one who called you every Sunday and needed your approval for everything, maybe that wasn't the real me. Maybe I was just trying to make you happy because you'd sacrificed so much." The words hit like physical blows. "Is that what you think, that I've been manipulating you with guilt?" "No, He rubbed his face. "I don't know, Mom. Belle's been helping me see things more clearly. About boundaries, about healthy relationships, about not being codependent. Belle's been helping me see. Belle's words, Belle's therapy speak, coming out of my son's mouth. Matthew, please listen to me. I know I made mistakes with Emily. I know I was too critical, too involved, but this is different. There's something about Belle that doesn't add up. The lifestyle she's living doesn't match what your expectations, your middle-class values." Now he was angry. "Belle comes from money, Mom. Her family has money. Just because she lives differently than you doesn't mean she's a bad person." "I never said she was a bad person." "But you're implying it, just like you implied it with Emily. And you were wrong about her mom. She's married now, to a pediatrician. They look happy. So maybe your judgment isn't as good as you think it is." He stood up, throwing cash on the table. "I have to get back to work. Matthew, please. I'll talk to you later." He left me sitting there with 2 bowls of pho getting cold. And that's when I knew. I couldn't do this alone. I couldn't trust my own judgment. Matthew was right, I'd been wrong before. But I also couldn't ignore the growing dread in my gut. I needed proof. One way or another, I needed to know the truth. So I called Kate Morrison. Kate Morrison ran a private investigation firm that specialized in background checks and asset verification. I'd met her years ago through the bank. We'd used her services for high-level executive screenings. She was professional, discreet, and thorough. "Amanda Carter," she said when I called. "It's been a while. What can I do for you? I need you to look into someone. And Kate, this is personal." We met at her office the next morning. I brought everything I had: Belle's full name, her Instagram profile, the information about Thomas Hartwell, the photos, the timeline. Kate listened without judgment. When I finished, she said, "What specifically are you looking for?" "I don't know," I admitted. "Either proof that I'm being paranoid or proof that I'm right to be worried. Those are very different outcomes. Are you prepared for either?" I thought about Matthew's face at lunch, the anger, the distance. "I have to know, even if it means even if I'm wrong again. Okay, Kate made notes. Give me a week. She called me back in 5 days. Can you come to my office? Her voice was careful, neutral. I'd rather show you this in person. The drive to Kate's office in Pioneer Square felt surreal. It was a beautiful June morning, the kind Seattle is famous for: clear skies, the smell of coffee from every corner, people out enjoying the sunshine. And I was driving toward information that might destroy my relationship with my son. Kate's office was small but professional. She had documents spread across her conference table. Sit down, she said gently. The first document was a credit report. Isabel Montgomery's credit report. Belle has $52,000 in credit card debt, Kate explained. Most of it accumulated over the last 2 years. She has accounts and collections totaling $18,000. Her credit score is 640, not terrible, but not good. I stared at the numbers. $52,000. This, Kate slid another document across, is an eviction notice. She was evicted from her last apartment 8 months ago for non-payment of rent. That's about 2 weeks before she started dating Matthew. My hands felt cold. Now here's where it gets interesting. Kate opened her laptop and turned it toward me. You were right about Thomas Hartwell. They dated for almost 2 years. I found photos. She deleted them from her feed, but they're still cached online. Thomas paid for her apartment, her car lease funded her lifestyle. When his divorce hit and his company's stock tanked, she left him within 2 weeks. The timing is documented in their social media activity. She pulled up a graph showing Belle's posts. The last post featuring Thomas was February 14th. Her first post from Matthew's apartment was March 3rd. 17 days. It's a pattern, Kate said quietly. Before Thomas, there was someone else. And before that, someone else. All men with money. All relationships that ended when the money dried up. I felt sick. What about her family? She said her father was in real estate. Her father was James Richardson. He was a real estate developer, yes. But he went bankrupt in 2019 and committed suicide shortly after. Belle's mother, Patricia, remarried within a year to Terrence Montgomery. He's wealthy tech industry. Patricia legally adopted Belle into the Montgomery name, but from what I can find, they're not close. Patricia and Belle haven't been photographed together in years. The room felt like it was tilting. Belle's father had killed himself. That kind of trauma. That could break a person. That could make someone terrified of poverty, desperate for security. There's more, Kate said, and she sounded apologetic. This came across my desk this morning. She handed me a printed document. A loan application. For $85,000. This was submitted 2 weeks ago to Pacific Northwest Lending. It's in Matthew's name. I read the application. Matthew's social security number, his employment information, his bank account numbers. But the contact email was bellemontgomery2024-gmail.com. The phone number was Belle's. The signature, Kate pointed to the bottom of the form. I had it analyzed. It's not Matthew's. It's a forgery. Not even a good one. This is fraud, I whispered. Yes, criminal fraud. The application was denied. Matthew's debt-to-income ratio didn't qualify. But Belle tried. I couldn't breathe. My son was engaged to someone who'd forged his signature to steal money. Amanda, Kate's voice was gentle. There's one more thing you need to see. She pulled up Matthew's bank statements. I have a contact at the bank who owed me a favor. These are from the last 2 months. I scanned the statements. Regular deposits from Matthew's paycheck. Normal expenses. But then I saw them transfers. To an account labeled JS Savings. What's JS Savings, Kate? That's the interesting part. Matthew added Belle to his checking account 6 weeks ago. She told him they needed a joint savings account for wedding expenses. He authorized the transfers. You can see they're scheduled automatic. $1,500 every 2 weeks. $6,000 in 2 months. But here's the thing, Kate continued. That account isn't joint. It's Belle's personal account. She just labeled it JS Savings when she gave Matthew the account number. JS stands for Just Savings, generic name to make it sound shared. Does Matthew know? I don't think so. He authorized her access to his checking account. She set up the automatic transfers. He probably thinks they're saving for the wedding together. But Belle's been using that money to pay down her credit card debt. I looked at all the documents spread before me. The debt, the eviction, the pattern of relationships. the forged loan application, the deceptive transfers. This wasn't love. This was a financial predator who targeted my son. "What do I do?" I asked Kate. "You tell him. You show him everything." "He won't believe me. He'll think I fabricated it." "Then you make him believe you, because in 4 weeks he's going to marry her. And once she has that marriage certificate, the fraud gets exponentially more complicated." I drove home with the folder on my passenger seat, feeling like it weighed 1,000 pounds. I had proof. Finally undeniable proof. But at what cost? If I showed this to Matthew and he believed me, I'd be destroying his engagement, his happiness, his trust in someone he loved. If I showed him and he didn't believe me, I'd lose him entirely. He'd see this as the ultimate betrayal, the ultimate attempt to control his life. I was damned either way. That night I sat at my kitchen table with Robert Hayes, my attorney. Robert had handled David's estate 16 years ago. He'd known our family for decades. "I need to protect Matthew's inheritance," I told him, sliding the folder across the table, "before this woman gets her hands on it." Robert read through everything carefully. When he finished, his face was grim. "Amanda, this is serious. The fraud alone could result in criminal charges." "I don't want to press charges. I want to protect my son. The trust you established for Matthew doesn't mature until he's 30. You're the sole trustee. We can add language making it irrevocable, specifying that any inheritance is his separate property, not marital. Even if he marries Belle, she won't have access. Do it." "There's something else," Robert said carefully. "You need to tell Matthew. He deserves to know." "I will. I just need to figure out how." That figuring out part took 2 more agonizing days. And then on a Thursday evening, 3 weeks before the wedding, I drafted a letter. Robert helped me make it formal, citing the evidence, explaining the legal implications, offering to meet with Matthew to discuss everything. We sent it certified mail to Matthew's apartment, requiring his signature. The next morning, my phone rang. Unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. "You have some nerve." Belle's voice was shaking with rage. Pure, undisguised rage. "The letter was for Matthew," I said, keeping my voice calm. "Matthew doesn't want to talk to you. You're a bitter, controlling old woman who can't stand to see him happy. Sending legal threats before our wedding. Really, they're not threats, Belle. They're facts. The loan application in Matthew's name, the forged signature, that's fraud. You don't know what you're talking about. You're making things up because you're jealous. Then have Matthew call me. Let him tell me himself that he doesn't want to hear the truth. He already knows the truth, that you're toxic, that you've been manipulating him his whole life with guilt over his dead father, that you can't let go." The cruelty of it took my breath away. David using my dead husband as a weapon. "Where is Matthew?" I asked quietly. "None of your business. Stay away from us. Stay away from our wedding, or I swear to God I'll get a restraining order." "Based on what grounds telling my son about crimes committed in his name?" She hung up. I sat there, phone in hand, and realized that Belle was panicking. I'd rattled her. She knew her scheme was unraveling, and she was desperate. Good. Let her be desperate. But I needed to hear from Matthew. I needed to see his face, hear his voice without Belle whispering in his ear. I texted him, "Please, honey, 5 minutes, just you and me. I love you." No response. I waited 3 hours, then 6, then 12, nothing. And then at 7:30 the next morning, a Saturday 3 weeks and 2 days before the wedding, my doorbell rang. I opened it in my bathrobe, coffee mug in hand. Matthew stood on my porch, and Belle was right beside him, her hand gripping his arm like a handler with a frightened dog. "We need to talk, Mom," Matthew said. His voice was flat, rehearsed. I looked at Belle. She smiled at me, but her eyes were cold as ice. "Of course," I said. "Come in." They entered my living room, the room where Matthew had taken his first steps, where we'd celebrated his high school graduation, where he'd told me about getting his first job. And now it felt like a battlefield. Belle sat on my couch as if she owned it. Matthew stood uncomfortable, not meeting my eyes. "You've crossed a line," Belle started immediately. No preamble, no pretense of civility. "Hiring investigators, filing police reports, trying to sabotage Matthew's finances. This is harassment, Amanda. We could sue you." "The police report isn't false," I said calmly. "You committed fraud. I did no such thing. There was a misunderstanding about a loan application. Matthew gave me permission to handle our finances." "Did you, Matthew?" I looked at my son directly. Did you give Belle permission to apply for an $85,000 loan in your name? He blinked. What loan? Belle's hand tightened on his arm. Honey, remember we talked about possibly getting a loan for wedding expenses. I was just looking into options. We never talked about any loan, Matthew interrupted, finally looking confused. Belle, what is she talking about? Your mother is lying to break us up. Belle's voice rose. She's been doing this from the beginning. She hates me because I'm taking you away from her. She can't let go. I walked to my desk, pulled out the folder Kate had given me, and handed it to Matthew. Read it, all of it, then decide who's lying. He opened the folder. I watched his face as he read. Confusion, then shock, then something that looked like the beginning of doubt. The credit report, the eviction notice, the timeline with Thomas Hartwell, the forged loan application. Belle tried to take the folder from him, but he held it away. This says you have $52,000 in debt, Matthew said slowly. That you tried to access my bank accounts without permission. That you applied for a loan using my information. Those documents are fabricated, Belle said. Her composure was cracking. She hired some investigator to make up lies. The credit report is from Experian Matthew, I said quietly. The loan application has a signature, a forged signature. The bank records show unauthorized access attempts. This isn't fabricated. This is documented fact. Matthew looked between us, his face pale. Belle, don't. Belle stood up, her voice hard now, all pretense gone. Don't you dare doubt me. After everything I've done for you, I've made you better, more independent. Your mother is a controlling narcissist who can't let you grow up. Narcissist? The word was absurd. I'm trying to protect him from a con artist. You're trying to keep him as your emotional support animal, Belle was shouting now. Because you're a lonely old woman who has nothing in her life except controlling your son. Belle, Matthew said sharply, don't talk to my mother like that. For a moment I saw my real son, the boy I'd raised, the man who knew right from wrong. But Belle wasn't finished. She turned to him and suddenly tears were streaming down her face. Tears that appeared too quickly, too perfectly. Daniel, if you believe her over me, if you choose these lies over our love, we're done. Right now. Her voice broke. Choose. Your manipulative mother who's trying to destroy us, or me. The woman who loves you, who sees you for who you really are. Belle, that's not fair. Choose, she screamed. The silence was deafening. Matthew looked at the folder in his hands. At me. At Belle with her perfect tears. I could see the war happening inside him. Years of our bond against months of her manipulation. Love against doubt. Trust against evidence. I need time to think, he finally said. No. Belle grabbed his arm. We're leaving. Now. And if you ever want to see me again, Matthew, you'll cut her out of your life. Completely. Permanently. She dragged him toward the door. He didn't resist, but he didn't look back either. He left the folder on my coffee table. The door slammed. Through the window, I watched them argue in the driveway. Belle gesticulating wildly, her face twisted with anger. Matthew standing with his head down, taking it. Finally, they got in his car and drove away. I sat down slowly, my hands shaking. I'd given him the truth. I'd shown him the evidence. And he'd still left with her. Had I just lost my son forever? For 3 days, I heard nothing. No calls, no texts. Just silence that felt like drowning. I didn't sleep the first night. I kept replaying the confrontation, wondering if I'd just destroyed my last chance with Matthew. By the second day, I'd convinced myself I was exactly what Belle said, a controlling woman who couldn't let go. Sarah came over and found me still in my bathrobe, staring at old photos. You did the right thing, she said gently. Did I? He left with her. You planted a seed of doubt. Give it time to grow. On the third day, an email arrived from Belle. Dear Amanda, I think we got off on the wrong foot. If you're willing to contribute $30,000 toward wedding expenses, we can move past this unpleasantness. Matthew deserves his mother at the wedding. I'm also open to a prenuptial agreement. Let's discuss this like adults. I forwarded it to Robert Hayes. He called immediately. This is extortion dressed as an olive branch. Don't respond. 2 days later, Belle sent a FedEx package with a financial plan and prenuptial agreement. Robert reviewed the prenup and looked grim. This is a trap. It makes Matthew liable for her debts and gives her access to his inheritance after 1 year of marriage. It's the opposite of what she claimed. I didn't respond to that either. The silence from Belle after that felt ominous, like the calm before a storm. 6 days before the wedding, Kate Morrison called. Amanda Matthew contacted me. He asked for copies of everything: bank statements, credit reports, the whole file. He wants to review it himself. My heart skipped. He's investigating, he's checking the timeline with Thomas Hartwell. He's verifying everything. I think he's having serious doubts, but needs to be absolutely certain. After we hung up, I felt something I hadn't felt in weeks: hope. Saturday night I did something reckless. I texted Matthew, "Please, 5 minutes, coffee at Rosewood tomorrow morning. I won't try to change your mind. I just want to see you." 3 hours later, "Okay, 10 a.m., but I'm going through with the wedding no matter what you say. I just want to see you. I love you." He didn't respond, but he'd agreed. It was something. Sunday morning I arrived at Rosewood 15 minutes early. Matthew showed up exactly at 10 a.m., looking exhausted, dark circles, wrinkled shirt like he hadn't slept in days. "Thanks for meeting me," I said as he sat down. "I can't stay long. Belle thinks I'm at the gym." The fact that he was hiding this meeting said everything. I slid a folder across the table. "A real prenup, one that actually protects you. If you're going to marry Belle, at least protect yourself." He looked surprised. "You're accepting this?" "I'm accepting that you're an adult, that you make your own choices, even if I think they're mistakes." Silence. Then Matthew spoke quietly. "I read everything. The credit reports, the timeline, the loan application. I've been going over it for days. And Belle has explanations for all of it. The debt was from her father's funeral. The eviction was a landlord dispute. The loan was a misunderstanding." He paused. "But then I checked my bank account. Really checked it. The savings account Belle set up, I called the bank. It's not joint. It's hers. She's been transferring my money to her personal account for 2 months. His voice cracked. "Mom, I confronted her last night. She said it was for wedding expenses, but when I asked for receipts, she got angry. Started crying, saying I didn't trust her. That you'd poisoned me against her." "What did you say?" "I said I needed time to think. She said if I needed time, then I didn't love her. That real love doesn't need time." He laughed bitterly. "That's manipulation, right?" "Yes, honey, that's exactly what it is. I'm supposed to marry her in 6 hours. You don't have to. Everyone's invited. The venue is paid for. If you go through with it knowing what you know, you'll regret it forever." His phone rang. Belle. He declined it. It rang again immediately. This time he answered. "Hey, I'm just..." Belle's voice came through loud enough for me to hear. "Where are you?" "I've been calling for an hour. We have final walkthrough at noon." "I'm at the gym." "Don't lie. Find my friend says you're at a cafe. Are you with her?" Matthew's face went pale. "Belle, I'm just getting coffee. Get to the venue, now. We'll discuss this later." She hung up. Matthew stared at his phone. "She tracks my location. I didn't even realize..." "Matthew, that's not normal." "I know." He looked at me and I saw my son again. Really saw him. "Mom, I think I've made a terrible mistake, but the wedding is in 6 hours. If I call it off now, you don't owe her a wedding just because it's planned." His phone buzzed. Text from Belle. "If you're not here in 30 minutes, don't bother coming at all." Matthew stood up, agitated. "I have to go. I need to think." "Matthew, please." "I'll figure it out, Mom. I promise." He left. I sat there with cold coffee, wondering if that was the last conversation I'd ever have with my son as an unmarried man. At 2 p.m., Kate Morrison called. "Amanda, turn on the news. Channel 5. I grabbed the remote. A reporter stood outside Bellevue Botanical Garden. Authorities investigating after theft reported at wedding venue. The bride's jewelry, including her engagement ring, allegedly stolen from the bridal suite this morning. Kate, what's happening?" "My contact at the sheriff's office says they reviewed the security footage. Belle staged it. Cameras show her putting the jewelry in her car trunk at 8 a.m., then coming back empty-handed and discovering it missing. She faked a theft, insurance fraud. The ring was insured for $15,000. Or she's creating drama to delay the wedding. Either way, police know. They're questioning her now." I grabbed my keys. "I'm going to the venue." "Amanda, you're not invited." "I don't care." When I arrived, 2 police cars sat in the parking lot. Confused guests in wedding attire stood around. I pushed through and saw Matthew near the entrance, still in jeans and a t-shirt, not his tux. Then Belle emerged from a building, face red and splotchy, an officer beside her. Montgomery, can you explain why security footage shows you placing the jewelry in your vehicle this morning? I was moving it for safekeeping, I forgot. The footage shows the case was empty when you brought it back. You staged this theft and filed a false police report. That's a crime. No, someone broke into my car. Your car was locked, no forced entry. Ma'am, you need to come with us. Matthew turned and saw me. Our eyes met across the parking lot. He started walking toward me. Belle saw him and screamed, "Matthew, don't you dare, we're getting married in 1 hour." But he kept walking, past the officer, past Belle, past the guests. He walked straight to me and stopped, his face crumbling. "Mom," his voice broke. "I'm so sorry." I pulled him into my arms. My son, my baby, finally finding his way home. "I've got you," I whispered. "I've got you." Belle was still screaming behind us, but I didn't look back. I just held my son while he cried. After a few minutes, Matthew pulled back. "I called it off this morning, after I left the cafe. I told her I couldn't do it, that I knew about the money, the lies, everything. She started crying, begging. Then she said she had to deal with an emergency at the venue. The staged theft. She thought if she created enough drama, I'd feel sorry for her." He laughed bitterly. "She didn't know when to stop." We watched officers escort Belle to a police car. She was still arguing, still believing she could manipulate her way out. Matthew's phone buzzed with texts from confused guests. "I need to cancel officially," he said tiredly. "Tell people. Tell them the truth, that you discovered information that made you realize this wasn't right. You don't owe anyone more than that." He nodded, tears in his eyes again. "How did you know? How did you see through her when I couldn't? Because I'm your mother. I've loved you longer than anyone. That gives me perspective." I touched his cheek. "And because I made mistakes with Emily. This time, I made sure I had proof. I need to apologize for what I said about that, about Dad. We both made mistakes with Emily, but that's done. This is now. Can I stay with you for a while?" "As long as you need. Your room is waiting." We walked to our cars. Behind us, Belle sat in the police car. Guests dispersed, some shocked, others already posting to social media. But I didn't care. I had my son back. As we drove away from that botanical garden, I felt peace. The war was over. We'd won not because Belle went to jail or the wedding was canceled. We'd won because Matthew saw the truth and chose to come home. Sunday brunch at Rosewood became tradition again. Today, Matthew brought someone new. "Mom, this is Julia. She teaches 4th grade. Julia, this is my mom, Amanda." Julia smiled warmly. "Matthew talks about you all the time. Thank you for raising such a good man." She wore jeans and a comfortable sweater, not designer. She sat across from me, not between us. We talked about her students, her family, how they'd met at a game night. She mentioned her student loans casually. Paying them off slowly. Not glamorous, but it's honest work. I caught Matthew's eye. He smiled. He heard it too, the difference. The honesty. When Julia excused herself, Matthew leaned forward. "So what do you think?" "I think she encourages you to see your mother instead of pulling you away. I think she's honest about her debt. I think she has her own life." I squeezed his hand. "I think you learned something, and you're choosing differently this time." "I am, Em. Taking it slow. Really getting to know her first." "That's wisdom, honey, not cynicism." As they left, Julia hugged me. "Thank you for brunch. Can we do this again?" "Absolutely." I watched them walk to his car, laughing together. They looked easy, comfortable, real. Driving home, I thought about everything we'd been through. The pain, the fear, the fight. It wasn't perfect. I wasn't perfect. But we'd survived. And sometimes that's what love looks like. Not smooth or easy, but worth fighting for. Always worth fighting for.